let us look. 531. Right. And now I go to 531. Yeah. But let us look a little at this surface consciousness. So remember what Srindri is doing? He has decided that at different levels, okay, you experience reality in different ways. I am again summarizing, okay, and he feels that consciousness is a power which is very, very plastic, okay, and it can take different stances at different levels. So he's saying, the problem is when you experience the self, you see the physical world as unreal. So is that a real experience or is that an intermediate experience? I'm just summarizing everything. So he says that it is consciousness which is playing tricks on you. It's not the reality. Okay, the reality is absolutely certain that there is a reality in the physical world, but you are looking at it in different ways from different levels. So now he is saying, so if that is the problem, let us look at consciousness. And in the previous chapter, he has looked at consciousness and he has looked at memory. Okay, and memory also, he has said, is very interesting. At the physical level, okay, memory can be of your own feelings. Okay, I remember that yesterday I was angry. Yesterday I remember that I had a very good feeling towards my friends. Okay, that's memory of yourself. Then there is memory of events in the physical world connected with you. So yesterday I had a good dinner at my friend's place. That's an event in the physical world, but connected with you. That's the second type of memory. And the third type of memory is something which is not connected with you and which is in the physical world. Like yesterday what I said, that there is, Modi gave a speech, okay, or this happened in Pakistan. Okay, lot of disturbance. So something that is not connected with you in the physical world. So this is memory of three types in the physical world. But this memory is very, very limited. We have absolutely no memory of what is going to happen in the future. And our memory of the past also is very limited. We forget very easily what has happened 10 years ago. We don't even remember when we were born. So memory is very limited. But as you keep climbing in consciousness and going higher and higher, what happens is that your memory also starts becoming bigger and bigger and more vast. In fact, it becomes so vast that you can remember even your childhood, not only childhood, but you can remember even what has happened in your past life. So this is what he said about memory. Now he is examining the next chapter, memory, how it is connected with ego and self-experience. So that's what he's examining. Let us see now. There is difference between ego and memory. Remember, okay? There is a difference between ego and memory. So now we have to read today. We have to read, na? Yeah, we have to read. Let us look a little at the surface consciousness. So which is the surface consciousness? The normal mental consciousness. A little bit of it is there in the vital also. And even less is there in the physical. Even your body has a consciousness of its own. We have discussed this many times, so we need not repeat it. So the consciousness of the body also is there. It is conscious of itself. It repairs itself. It protects itself. When you are coughing or you're sneezing or even you're blinking, the eyes are taking rest. And when you are coughing, you're throwing out something which is harmful to you. It tells you when to eat. The body is telling you when to eat. It's not a mental decision. When you feel hungry, it is the body which is telling you you need food. When you are tired, it is the body that is saying you have overspent your energy. Now make it less. So this is what the body is conscious. Now he's saying, so let us look at this surface consciousness, not the deeper consciousness of the spiritual planes, nor the consciousness of the intraconscient. Okay, intraconscient is within, deep within yourself. So let's read. So who will read today?
Shall I read?
Yes, you can, Shilpa. Let us look a little at the surface consciousness. Okay.
But let us look a little at the surface consciousness without theorizing, studying it only in its facts. We see it first as a purely subjective phenomenon. There is a constant rapid shifting of time point, which it is impossible to arrest for a moment. There is a constant changing, even when there is no shifting of space circumstances. A change both in the body or form of itself, which the consciousness directly inhabits, an environing body or form of things in which it less directly lives. It is equally affected by both, though more vividly because directly by the smaller than by larger habitation, by its own body than by the body of the world. Because only of changes in its own body is it directly conscious, and of the body of the world only indirectly through the senses and the effects of the macrocosm on the microcosm. This change of the body and the surrounding is not so insistently obvious or not so obviously rapid as the swift mutation of time, yet it is equally real from time moment to moment and equally impossible to arrest. But we see that the mental being only regards all the mutations so far as its produce effects upon its own mental consciousness, generates impressions and changes in its mental experience and mental body, because only through the mind can it be aware of its changing physical habitation and its changing world experience. Therefore, there is, as well as shifting or change of time point and space field, a constant modifying change of the sum of circumstances experienced in time and space, and as a result of the constant modification of the mental personality, which is the form of our superficial or apparent self. All this change of circumstances is summed up in philosophical language as causality, for in this stream of the cosmic movement, the antecedent state seems to be the cause of subsequent state, or else the subsequent state seem to be the result of a previous action of persons, objects, or forces. Yet, in fact, what we call cause may very well be on only circumstance. Thus, the mind has over and above its direct self consciousness a more or less indirect mutable self experience, which it divides into two parts: its subjective experience of the ever modified mental states of its personality, and its objective experience of the ever changing environment, which seems partly or wholly to cause and is yet at the same time itself affected by the workings of that personality. But all this experience is at bottom subjective, for even the objective and external is only known to mind in the form of subjective impressions.
Yeah. Okay. So, little complicated. Even the last sentence is a little complicated, but we have discussed it many times. But we will go more into detail with each sentence. So, we start looking at it. But let us look a little at the surface consciousness. So we must be very clear as to what is the surface consciousness. It's a consciousness about normal, usual life. When we are in the physical world, the consciousness of level 1, we see the many, we see the multiplicity of the physical world, and we think it is real. We are in ignorance and we don't see the reality behind the fleeting forms. This is what he's saying. This is what we have to look at and examine, but without theorizing. Don't come to certain conclusions. Just look and experiment and objectively look at your mind, and don't start coming to theories. Okay? Just look at the facts, and then theorizing can be done later on. But even when you theorize with spiritual experience, you go wrong, because theorizing belongs to the mind, and the mind is ignorant and limited. So it is better not to theorize even about spiritual experiences. Sri Aurobindo says that very clearly in other places. Just experience, be calm and note the experience, but don't start jumping to conclusions. Oh, this is this. Oh, this is that. Oh, this happened because of this. All these sort of arguments and all, even to yourself, not to others, is absolutely not to be done. Because if you do that, then you are again plunging yourself back into ignorance. So, very clearly, without theorizing, studying it only in its facts. Now, we see it first as a purely subjective phenomenon. In other words, your consciousness is not depending on the outside world. Okay? Outside world is sending its impacts into you. Someone is talking to you, there are sights which are coming into on your retina, there are sounds coming into your ears, and you are experiencing all these things subjectively. What does it mean? It means that person A and person B, the same sounds coming into them, they will experience in a different way. Okay? The same sights coming to different people, person A and person B, they will start seeing in a subjective manner, which is not the same at all. Okay? This is very clear. When it means subjective, that's what it means. It is relevant only to you and not to anybody else. That is what I meant by subjective. Because objective would be something which exists outside yourself, and it would have a certain amount of validity independent of human beings. Like a stone is a stone. It has nothing to do with my consciousness or your consciousness or somebody else's consciousness. So that is objective and this is subjective. So Srendra is saying all your surface consciousness is entirely subjective. Okay, very clear statement. Then there is a constant rapid shifting of the time point, which it is impossible to arrest for a moment. Now, in other words, there is a constant movement. There is a movement in the physical world. There is a movement in the universe. There is also a movement within yourself. Even your body is changing every minute. Even your vital is changing every minute. Even your thought is changing every minute. Even the body, every time you breathe, new elements are, new air is going into you and you are throwing out new food. You have changed. When you eat, new food is going into you, new substance, and you are also throwing out substance. There is absolutely, even when you do like that, brush your hand, okay, some dead cells will be coming out. So there is constant change. Whatever you do, there is constant change. And this change, it is impossible to stop. Time in the physical world does not stop. It is going on, okay? But the question arises, is it going at a steady pace or is it going at a fast and slow and all that? That's a complicated question. We'll see to that later on, because that also is subjective ultimately, okay? So there is a constant rapid shifting of time point in which it is impossible to arrest for a moment. In fact, this can be expressed in another way. They say that there is nothing like the present, because the past and the future are coming and the present is almost non-existent. As soon as you think of the present, the past has gone and the present has come. Okay, so this is the constant rapid shifting of time point. It is so clear, which is impossible to arrest for a moment. In the physical world, there is constant movement. Is it, then the question arises, is it possible to have a consciousness which is not moving at all? The answer very clearly is yes. But you have to move out of your surface consciousness and you have to go to the self. And what is the self? You have to go to level 2. Level 2 is the spiritual planes of consciousness, which is outside your body, outside the universe. Your consciousness comes out. It is not a prisoner of your body, mind, life. And there is no time. Okay? There is absolute stability. So I'm going a little beyond what Srendra is saying, because we are repeating certain things for clarity's sake. There is a constant rapid shifting of time point, which is impossible to arrest for a moment. Then next, there is a constant changing. Okay, even when there is no shifting of space circumstance. In other words, even when I'm sleeping, I'm shifting, I'm going on changing. My body is changing. As I said, every time I breathe, okay, I'm changing. Okay, there are certain your lungs are throwing out carbon dioxide and taking in oxygen. Okay? And your kidneys also are constantly purifying the blood and throwing out toxic materials and purifying the blood and sending it back into your veins. Constant change, even if you're sleeping. So I'm just saying, even when you're not shifting in space, I'm sitting quiet also, even then I'm changing. A change both in the body or form of itself, which the consciousness directly inhabits, and the environing body or form of things in which it less directly lives. What is the environing body? Your aura. Okay. That also there are changes, and your environing body is the aura around yourself, or form of things in which less directly lives, because your aura can become much more, much bigger than simply your normally one's aura is for human beings about 1 centimeter all around the body. That is what is the, sometimes we speak of the halo of people who are very saintly. Okay, around the head you will see a light. That light is there for everybody. Okay, even is there for a leaf in the tree. All living creatures have an aura. Okay, because there's an energy which comes out. The moment you are dead, this aura slowly disappears. That's what Swami is meaning by environing body. Okay, so it's a consciousness directly inhabits, and also it inhabits a little bit in the aura or form of things in which it less directly lives. Even the form of things, okay? Form of things, what does it mean? Say stones, okay, trees, other animals outside yourself, but can your consciousness also be in them? The answer is yes, but at our level, very little. It can extend itself in sympathy, or it can extend itself in complete identification at a higher level. So part of your consciousness is there everywhere. That's what he's saying, in a very guarded manner. In which, but you're less directly you're living. Your consciousness is mostly in yourself and little bit also outside yourself. Okay? More in the aura, and more further you go away from your own body, you are living less and less in it. So much so that finally there's absolutely nothing that you live in the physical world. You have no relation with the stone at all. But is that true? Because when you rise in consciousness, you see that you have a relation with everything, which is the cosmic consciousness. Okay. So I go to the next sentence. It is equally affected by both. What does that mean? It is affected by your consciousness in the body, and also affected by the consciousness around the body and even outside. It is equally affected. Okay, but it is what is affected. It's a subjective experience, not an objective experience. Last sentence, you will see how everything becomes subjective. It is equally affected by both, though more vividly, more directly by the smaller than by the larger habitation. So, which is the smaller? Your consciousness of the body, mind, life. Which is the larger? Around you and a little bit even in the cosmos. Because when you change and go to the self, you live more in the cosmos than in yourself. Okay? So it is very, very clear what he's saying. It is such wonderful language, so clear. Smaller. When you are in your normal consciousness, your consciousness in a smaller field, only a body, mind, life. But when you are in a spiritual consciousness, it is you are living in a larger habitation. Which is the larger habitation? The universe. Okay. So by its own body, than by the body of the world. There you are. He is explaining very clearly. Your own body, but there is also a body of the world. What is the body of the world? The physical world. Okay. Because there is a vital world and there is a mental world. So because only of the changes in its own body is it directly conscious, and of the body of the world only indirectly through the senses and the effects of the macrocosm on the microcosm. The microcosm is the human being, but it need not be the human being. It can even be an animal. Okay, so that's a microcosm, and the macrocosm is the universe at large. Okay, so the universe is interacting with you. You are interacting with the universe, and more at level 1, your consciousness is very limited and simply use the word small. Your consciousness is very small when you are in your body-mind life. It becomes much larger when you are in the spiritual planes of consciousness level 2 and you are experiencing the cosmic consciousness. You are living more in the cosmos than in yourself. In fact, you are not living in yourself at all. Your consciousness comes out of the body-mind life and the universe is more real to you than your body-mind life. So, because even your body-mind life, you feel it to be somebody else's body-mind life, not your own. Okay, so this change of the body and the surroundings is not so insistently obvious or not so obviously rapid as the swift mutation of time. Time we are very conscious. Every second counts for us. Every hour counts. Every minute counts. What happened 1 minute ago is memory. What is happening is the present. So they are conscious of that. But the change happening in your body, you are not so conscious of it. To a certain extent, you are more conscious of the change of your emotions. So you are more conscious of the changes in the vital, even more conscious of the changes in the mind. A different thought comes in and you are, oh, 2 minutes ago I was thinking like this. Now I'm thinking like this. So you are conscious of this change, more in the mind, less in the vital, and absolutely almost non-existent in the changes of the body. You don't realize that. It's a very, very slow change. That's what Sridhar is saying. He's giving you 3 types of changes. Swiftly in the mind, less swiftly in the vital, and almost non-existent in the body. But it is happening. Okay? You are not conscious of it. Therefore, wait. But I'll read from that. But we see that the mental being only regards all this mutation as far as it produces effects upon its own mental consciousness, generates impressions and changes in its mental experience and mental body, because only through the mind can it be aware of its changing physical habitation and its changing world experience. Okay, so do you understand what he's saying? He's saying that he had begun this paragraph with saying that it is subjective. Now he explained to you how it is subjective. He's saying, and this we have said many times, but it should be absolutely firmly established in our mind. Our experience of the world is not of the world itself. Our experience of the world is the images on my retina, the sounds on my eardrum, the touches on my skin, the taste buds sending that is my experience of the world. Okay? And the taste and smell coming into my into my nose. Remember, it is subjective because one smell you may like, another smell, the same smell somebody else may not like. It's very clear. Some people like petrol smell. Some people don't like petrol smell. Some people love turpentine smell. Some people absolutely don't like it at all. Okay, so there are so many. I know of people who, there are certain flowers, prosperity flower, okay, it's a very interesting one, and even silence, very strong smell, but many people find it very pleasant, but some people say no, too strong, they don't like it. So the world is sending all these things to you, but your experience of the world is subjective. It's related only to you. For everybody else, it is different. Okay. And again, quickly to remind you of what we have said, you are experiencing the world through 3 mechanisms. The nature has given you 3 mechanisms by which you are experiencing the physical world. If your senses are not there, the world doesn't exist for you. Very clear. Okay. Now, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. All these are gathering information from the physical world and sending it through the brain, to the brain, through nerves. And all these 3 are giving you a subjective experience of the world, because everybody will see in a different way, as I told you. Okay. Some people are colorblind, so their experience of the sights will be different. Some people are also sounds. I can hear sound, but I can't hear words. So it is different for me. Okay. Some people find a touch very hot and some people find it very cold. A breeze that is coming, some people find it very pleasant, some people find it unpleasant, depending. So it's all subjective. Your experience of the physical world is entirely subjective, depending upon your senses, the nerves, and the brain. So what you are experiencing is subjective. It is not at all objective. It becomes objective more or less when you come out of your body-mind life and you are not using your senses. Your consciousness has come out into level 2, and there it becomes more objective. You are seeing the reality. You are not seeing the subjectiveness of your experience. Okay? So now reading the sentence again. With this you will see it's easy to understand. But we see that the mental being only regards all this mutation so far as it produces effects upon its own mental consciousness. That's what we discussed just now. My own mental consciousness is my senses, the nerves, and the brain. Generates impressions. The eyes are generating the impression of the images falling on my retina and changes in its mental experience and mental body. The mental body is the brain. Okay? Mental body. Because only through the mind can it be aware of its changing physical habitation, your own body, and its changing world experience, the world outside. The world outside you are experiencing subjectively. That's what, depending on your senses, your nerves, and your brain. Any one of these three don't function normally, your experience of the world will change. Therefore, there is, as well as a shifting or change of time point and space field, a constant modifying change of the sum of circumstances experienced in time and space, and as a result of a constant modification of the mental personality, which is a form of our superficial or apparent self. Which is your apparent self? Your body, mind, life. Which is your real self? Your soul or your self. The self is above, not in your body, mind, life, and the psychic soul is within yourself. So, all this change of circumstance is summed up in the philosophical language as causality. So causality is the law of karma, because one thing produces another thing and its effects are a continuous chain. Action number 1 determines what you're going to do. Action number 2. Action number 2 will determine action number 3. This is the causality. Okay, there's a connectedness with the past and the present and the future. This is what he's saying. Okay, all this change, remember, all this he is discussing only in the surface consciousness of level 1. He is not discussing level 2, although he has hinted here and there about it. Okay, so all this change of circumstance is summed up in the philosophical language as causality. Okay, causality is a chain of karma. Okay. For in the stream of the cosmic movement, the antecedent state seems to be the cause of a subsequent state, or else the subsequent state seems to be the result of a previous action of persons, objects, or forces. Okay, so what's he saying? He's saying that everything that you are doing now is the result of what you have done in the past. And what about the universe? That also. Whatever has happened in the universe, antecedent. Antecedent means before. And it is affecting what is coming after. Okay? Because there is a causality. Clear? Change is constant, but the change is, there is a law that operates. Whatever has happened before is linked as a cause to what is going to happen or is happening. Okay? Previous action of persons, objects, and forces. Yet, in fact, what we call cause may very well be only circumstance. Now, that's a very deep thing what he's saying. We'll have to understand that. What you are thinking as a cause may only be a circumstance. Okay? If you see it from another point of view, it may only be a circumstance. The condition of the physical world, that's a circumstance. Thus, the mind has over and above its direct self-consciousness a more or less indirect, mutable self-experience, which it divides into two parts. Its subjective experience of the ever-modified mental states of its personality and its objective experience of the ever-changing environment, which seems partly or wholly to cause and is yet at the same time itself affected by the workings of that personality. So the outside world is affecting you and your own workings, okay, your way of thinking, your way of reacting to the vital emotions and your body, that also is contributing to your experience. It's a both, it's a two-way, inwards and outwards. But all this experience is at bottom subjective. It is absolutely relating only to yourself and to nothing else. Okay, so this is what he's saying. So what you are thinking is pertinent only to you. What you are emoting, what you are having experience of emotions is relative only to you, not to anybody else. If you are angry, it doesn't bother anybody else. If you are happy, it doesn't bother anybody else. It's absolutely subjective. This is what he said. But all this experience is at bottom subjective. Why? Because your soul is trapped in the body-mind life. So the subjective means imprisoned in the body-mind life. For even the objective and external is only known to mind in the form of subjective impressions. This is what we have discussed many times, and this is a very important thing we must keep in mind always. What we are experiencing in the physical world is only subjective impressions. What are the subjective impressions? Your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, and your skin touch. These are giving you impressions, and your brain is interpreting them after it receives the data of the senses through the nerves. This is what he's saying very clearly. Okay? That completes. In other words, the whole para is saying the world is going on changing. You are also changing as part of the world. But all this change and all this experience is subjective only. It has no reality outside the physical world. If you are at level 1, if you are identified with your body-mind life. But if you are not identified with body-mind life and you are outside, things begin to change. It is not as subjective anymore. Okay, so now we can read the next para. Here, we have got 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes. Here, the part played by memory. Okay, so now he is going to examine memory. First, he has told you what is the normal condition of your surface consciousness. Yes, Geeta, you can read.
Yeah. Here, the part played by memory increases greatly in importance. For while all that it can do for the mind with regard to its direct self-consciousness is to remind it that it existed and was the same in the past as in the present. It becomes in a differentiated or surface self-experience an important power, linking together past and present experiences, past and present personality, preventing chaos and dissociation, and assuring the continuity of the stream in the surface mind. Still, even here, we must not exaggerate the function of memory or ascribe to it that part of the operations of consciousness which really belongs to the activity of other power aspects of the mental being. It is not the memory alone which constitutes the ego sense. Memory is only a mediator between the sense mind and the coordinating intelligence. It offers to the intelligence the past data of experience which the mind holds somewhere within, but cannot carry with it in its running from moment to moment on the surface.
Yeah. It's a very small para, but it's very interesting. Now, he has told you in the previous para that your experience of the world and of yourself is completely subjective. Now he is bringing in memory. If memory is not there, what will happen? If any of you have got elderly people in the house who have suffered dementia, then you will know what happened when memory is not functioning anymore. I have 2 cases like that at home, and even myself, I am now on the verge of my dementia. I'm not exaggerating. I forget what I've just done 2 minutes ago. Okay. So a memory is a function of the consciousness. There are many functions of the consciousness. Imagination is another one, very powerful. Memory also is very powerful. What does memory do? He is examining. Okay. So he is saying, here is a part played. Here, the part played by memory increases greatly in importance. Why? Because he has spoken of causality. He has spoken of what is happening in the past is affecting your present. But if you don't remember, okay, let us say that you don't remember anything at all of what has happened in the past. Every minute, every second, you are forgetting what you have done in the past. Then there will be a tendency to your mechanical nature will take over and you will go on doing things by habit. And that's exactly what happens. Okay. You don't remember what you have done. Okay. So very interesting examples I'll give you because I'm seeing that every day. There is a person who is 90 years old at home and his dementia is almost complete. Okay. But the ego has not gone. I'll give you examples. So he eats breakfast. Okay, he has to be called. He doesn't even know that he has to eat breakfast or lunch or dinner. Every time he has to be called. And he doesn't know whether he has had or not. He just sits and what is given to him, he eats. Then he goes away and every day he washes the vessels in spite of our telling him every day that you need not wash the vessels, put them away. Okay, but he doesn't listen because memory is not there. The advice given to him is not registered in the brain. Memory is not functioning. So he goes on doing the same thing every time. Okay, he goes on doing the same thing. And every day you tell him, don't wash your vessels, put them away. The servant will wash them. So this is what happens. So after 2 minutes, he again comes and sits at the table wanting breakfast again. And the funny part is that if you give him the breakfast second time, he will have it. It is so mechanical. Okay? So no memory at all. So now that's what Sridhar is saying. Memory is so important. Here the part played by memory increases greatly in importance. Because if memory is not there, linking the past with the present, okay, then your life will become directionless, isn't it? Just think. Okay. It will become directionless to a large extent. Okay. I remember when I used to go to Amal Kiran, okay, and he said he has to give a check for his Mother India magazine. He would give me a check, and after 2 minutes he said, "Wait, I have to give you a check." I told him, "But Amal, you have already given me." Then he will say again after 2 minutes, he will say, "I have to give you a check." 5 times he will repeat. Okay. So this is what happens when memory is going. Okay. So it's so important for the memory to function properly. So here is a part played by memory increases greatly in importance for while all that it can do for the mind with regard to its direct self-consciousness is to remind it that it existed in the past and was the same in the past as in the present. It becomes in our differentiated or surface self-experience an important power linking together past and present experiences, past and present personality, preventing chaos and dissociation, and assuring the continuity of the stream. So clear, no? We say continuity of the stream. Where is it gone? Yeah, continuity of the stream in the surface mind. Okay. Because surface mind is there, but what happens is the subconscious or the intraconscious is recording everything. It doesn't go away. But the surface consciousness is not aware. Okay? Surface consciousness, you are normal, what is discussed in the previous para. Still, even here, we must not exaggerate the function of memory or ascribe to it that part of the operations of consciousness which really belongs to the activity of other power aspects of the mental being. So what are they? There are other powers also of the mind. So memory is not absolutely essential for life. It is not memory alone which constitutes an ego sense. So there you are. ego sense also is very important. It is not the memory alone which constitutes the ego sense. Memory is only a mediator. Okay? Memory is only a mediator between the sense mind and the coordinating intelligence. The sense mind is the manas of Indian philosophical thought. Manas, that part of the brain which is interpreting only impressions, sense impressions. That's the manas. But there is one part of the brain which is also thinking. It is also capable of thought. That's a pure mind. Intellectualizing, understanding, logic. This is all the pure brain. There are three parts of the brain: the physical mind, the vital mind, and the pure mind. The pure mind is thinking with clarity and with logic and objectively. But the sense mind is only interpreting the senses. Okay? It is telling you what you're seeing, what you're not seeing. So it is not the memory alone which constitutes ego sense. Memory is only a mediator between the sense mind and the coordinating intelligence. So there is a part of the mind which is coordinating your past and your present. Okay? So this is also different from memory. Okay? It is between the sense mind and the coordinating intelligence. It is collecting data of what happened yesterday, today, day before yesterday, and coordinating it, giving you a sense of continuity. So memory is one, but coordinating mind also is another. It offers to the intelligence the past data of experience which the mind holds somewhere within, okay, but cannot carry with it in its running from moment to moment on the surface. So there are so many things. He has told you exactly what is memory, and he has told you also that memory is a mechanism which can disappear from the mind. But there is also ego sense, and there is also a part of the brain which is coordinating. Okay. Now just think. Okay, a crow collects food, and if it can't eat the whole thing, it keeps it in a tree somewhere. That's what the leopard also does. The leopard makes a kill, and because it can't eat the whole thing, it takes it up into a tree. It has the power to do that. It carries a weight 5 times its own weight and carries it up and puts it in the tree. It puts it in the tree because it puts it in the tree because otherwise others will eat stuff. So it puts it there, and so there is a coordination even in the animals. Okay, so intelligence. It offers to the intelligence the past data of experience which the mind holds somewhere within, but cannot carry with it. It is running from moment to moment on the surface. So this is what he's saying, and it is they have gone past our time. I'll take 2 minutes more, and I will summarize what he has said here for you. Okay. This is my own writing. It's not Sridhar's writing, but I'm summarizing what he said in the panel. In the active mutability of the surface being, the function of memory becomes very important. In the self, memory becomes wide and vast, covering all past, present, and the future, and assures us of our eternal existence. Memory becomes, in the self, it becomes, you know your own past life, and you know that you have always existed, and you will also exist. Memory becomes wide in the level 2 of the spiritual planes of consciousness, but it is very, very useful at level 1. But in the time sequence of the world, it links the 3, or is it 2? Because the present doesn't exist. The past, present, and future, it links memory and ensures continuance of personality and prevents chaos and dissociation of personality. But still, we must not exaggerate its unique importance. There is also the ego, which contributes to the aspect of continuance. Memory in mortal man is only a link between the sense mind and the coordinating intelligence. Okay, there is manas at the lowest level, and there is buddhi at the highest level, and it is all connected. The coordinating intelligence does that work. Memory supplies past data to mind, but cannot carry it into the present form from moment to moment on the surface. Okay, that's what he said here. And it is 8:38, so we've gone 3 minutes past our time. So I think it's very clear what he has discussed. He is discussing memory, which is not really the ego sense, and memory is very important for us, but it is not the only thing. Okay, memory becomes subtle and even more powerful as you go up into the higher planes of consciousness. That's what it is. So, Smoky, note down, we have to read a little analysis. That's tomorrow. We'll read a little analysis. So,
Yes.
au revoir, everybody. Goodbye and have a nice day.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Radha.